Good evening and welcome to the Audit and Standards Committee of Melton Borough Council. Members are reminded that we will be using the audio visual system this evening and the meeting will be recorded. Members are asked to physically raise their hands in the usual way to indicate that they wish to speak and to use speaking. For the benefit of all present, the microphone is live when the red light displays. Please switch mobile phones to silent. Now, a reminder of the evacuation procedure. In the event of having to evacuate the council chamber, please leave by one of the 6 emergency exits around the sides of the chamber and please assemble in the side of at the far side of the front car park nearest to the park entrance. Officers will be on hand to assist persons who require any assistance. Public recording of the meeting. There is legislation that allows the public to film, record social media at a council meeting, but this must not be disruptive to the good nor include any or public seats area. I am Councillor Lee Higgins, the chair, and I will be chairing this meeting. I have advised officers and some members I'm going to present the annual report, but due to unforeseen circumstances, leaving my very able friend, Councillor Jim Mason, will be chairing the rest of the panel. I confirm we have tonight Dawn Garton, Director for Corporate Services, Clive Tobin, the Assistant Director for Governance, Rachel Ashley-Corn, the Chief Internal Auditor, Joanne Paggett, the Democratic Services Officer, and I believe this is your first Audit and Standards meeting, is it? Yes, so welcome very much. I have met you before, and it was very good to see you, and welcome to the Council. And Sarah Evans, Democratic Services Officer. Also in attendance is via Teams is Helen Lillington, our external auditor from Grant Thornton. Welcome, Helen. And we have apologies for absence. But Alison Freer contacted me earlier, so that's the only. So minutes to confirm the. Oh yes, sorry, I forgot. Yes, it's gone. Councillor Jim Adcock. Sorry, Jim. He did tell me that as well on email about 3 weeks ago, so very prepared. Anyway, to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 20th of January, do we have any amendments or can I seek a proposal? Councillor Mason, seconder, Councillor Atherton. Those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. It's actually gentlemen on the committee, so okay, so I will just sign the minutes. Declarations of interest. To invite anyone with any declarations of interest in respect to the agenda tonight. So as mentioned before, I'm going to bring item 9 of our business, the Audit and Standards Committee Annual Report 2025-2026. So this is on page 157 and 164 of your packs. Give everyone a couple of minutes just to up there. So just the brief highlights from the report. What I would say here is that the committee has had a full year of oversight across the governance, audit, risk and standards. The annual report covers our work from May 2025 to March 2026, describes the committee's role providing the council and its independent assurance on governance, risk management and the control environment. Our very able internal audit has been a central focus, and the council is receiving an overall moderate assurance opinion for 2024-2025. And in July 2025, the committee considered the internal annual report and opinion for that year, which stated that moderate assurance could be given adequacy and effectiveness of the council's control environment. The committee also approved our internal audit plan for 2025-2026 and continue to monitor the delivery through the progress reports. The committee has maintained regular oversight for the risk management and the monthly risk management update. And one feature highlighted publicly is updated reporting framework with the strategic risk reporting and continuing through audit and standards and holding the council to account. External audit has progressed through the year, including the 2024-2025 findings and planning for 2025-2026. And we've received the external audit interim annual report in November of last year and the external audit findings report for 2024-2025 in January of this year. I'd like to thank our external auditors on that, and I do note that not all councils can have their accounts signed off by their external auditor, and obviously the challenges this council faced when there were a lot of councils who couldn't get their accounts audited all the COVID years, I suppose. So that is how it's been overseen in the conclusion of one audit cycle and start of the next. The standards and conduct remained an active area of work, and the public papers show that standards matters featured during the year, including a code of conduct complaints update and references to the high number of standards complaints in 2024-2025. And while there were a high number of complaints that came in, I believe there was only one. I am right in this. There is only one. There's only one breach that was found. I won't go into that one. So just because a complaint is made, that doesn't mean it is made out. And with some valid and some said to have, in the report, it was said that some of the number of standards complaints, with some being valid and some have said to have had ulterior motives. The annual governance statement and also records of the planning code of conduct were reviewed in 2025. And just on that, I'd like to place on record my thanks to the committee for all the improvements in the standards regime to make sure that it is fair to respondent and complainant. Information governance on the committee agenda, that was presented in November 2025, and the information governance annual report and framework update, which the public minutes confirm was introduced and noted by this committee. Committee's role has just not been reactive. It's also helped strengthen the council's assurance framework and improve the internal audit charter and mandate for 25-26. And it's reviewed our annual governance statement and continued the routine oversight of risk, audit findings, governance reporting, and taken together that supports that from my message to the committee that we have all worked to improve the assurance, transparency and accountability rather than simply receive reports. One thing I will say on that is, well, I thought the committee did an excellent job in holding the officers to account where we noted the issue with the car parking order, which had gone awry. But I'd like to thank our Chief Executive Officer for attending that meeting and on behalf of, as the head of paid service, taking full accountability for that. And equally, I'd like just to say it was good to see that Melton was able to have some more money returned to its pocket in a way. So as a fiscal person, not liking to tax people too much, I was quite happy about that personally. But just to remind residents as well, there are plenty of free parking places in Melton if you so wish. The summary that I've made here, which shows that the committee has had a whole wide range and active programme across the internal audit, external audit, risk standards and information governance. And from the assurances we've received, we've kept risk management under regular review, considered the external audit findings and the new audit plan, and the continued oversight of conduct and governance issues. Overall, the report demonstrates that the committee's ongoing role in providing independent assurance and supporting strong governance across the council. I would just like to thank our internal auditor, our external auditor, and Dawn Garton for help on all the audit parts. But equally, I'm sure Jim and myself, when we've worked on the standards and the legal aspects, we would like to pass our thanks on to Clive Tobin as well, who has been a very steady assurance to us when we've had our chairs and vice chairs briefings and when we've met as a committee. So that is my update to this committee, and then the report as said. But I open up to debate.
Just to say, I had sight the report in its early stages, and I was completely satisfied with it and recommend it. I can propose it if you want, Chair. I'll propose the report.
So we got a proposer and seconder. So the committee recommendation is to approve the Audit Standards Committee annual report and refers the Audit Standards Committee annual report to Council for noting. All those in favour, please raise your hands. So that's unanimous. So thank you, gentlemen, for that. Just before I go, I would like to apologise to Rachel because the reports are very good before I go, but just because of the unforeseen circumstances, I have to shoot. But it has been no way in a reflection of the diligent work that you have done or that Helen has put in as well. So I will hand over to the very able Vice Chair, Councillor Mason. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for that, and thank you for putting up with me for this evening. Hope we've got a long agenda, and I hope to get through it with detail and alacrity. So let's move on to, I think we're on item 4 now, which is the external audit plan for 2025-2026. And can I ask Helen Littleton, hello, if she would present the report, please? Thank you.
Good evening. Can I just check through? I'm coming through loud and clear for everybody. Excellent. That's good. That's good to hear. So apologies for not being there in person this evening, but hopefully this will enable me to present the audit plan. So you have the audit plan on the agenda this evening. So this is the audit plan for 25-26, and it sets out our audit approach for both the financial statements and for the value for money for the council. So the plan follows the format that members of this committee should all be familiar with. It includes the significant risks to the audit, and I'm quite clear that to say that, because when I talk about risk, I'm talking about the risk of me giving an incorrect audit opinion. So this is a significant risk I consider to the audit, and you'll see that those are listed as management override of control, which is mandated under the standards. We also have the valuation of land and buildings, council dwellings and investment property, and also the valuation of the pension liability. So the valuation points arise as a result of the fact that those are your most significant estimates within your financial statements, and that's what presents an element of risk to me as an auditor. What is worth pointing out that is different this year is a change in the code, which allows a move to indexation of assets rather than a full valuation. And we will look at that as part of our work this year to see how the council has put that into practice as part of the close down of the accounts this year. As you would expect, I've set a level of materiality, and that's 865k, which is based on a benchmark level of around 2.5% of your expenditure. Again, the benchmarks remain largely unchanged. The audit fee is also detailed in the audit plan, and that is as per the scale fee, and I have no independence issues that I need to report to you. What I will just highlight is we've focused quite a lot this year on logistics, and that is largely as a result of the backstop dates. You will be aware that this year the backstop date was the end of February. Next year that moves forward to the end of January, and the year after that it moves forward to the end of November. We are not resting on our laurels this year, because we know that that will be quite a challenge for lots of councils. So we're asking everybody to sort of have a bit of a dry run, if you like, this year. And we're asking everybody to get to a position where we sign off by the end of November, so that we can see where the pitfalls are, and sort of head off any potential issues. I think what's really good is that, based on the last couple of years of working with you, I think you're well placed to continue to move that timeline forward. And you will notice that in the audit plan, we've also detailed an element of interim work to enable us to get ahead, which is something that we've not done as much of in previous years, but it's important that we continue to focus on that and really move through that, so we can get back to where we need to get to in terms of what I would call a normal audit cycle. Obviously, Councillor Higgins alluded to the fact that, you know, we are going to have to do some work with you around regaining assurance over opening balances due to the backstop previously, but we'll focus firstly on in-year transactions and then work with officers to see how we get you back to a clean opinion. The only other thing I wanted to just point out was around the value for money work that we'll do. And again, you will notice raised significant risk around the arrangements for financial sustainability and what your plans are to close the budget gap. And we will look at that as we go forward through the work this year, ready to report as part of our auditor's annual report later in the year. I think that's all I wanted to highlight for now, but I'm happy to take any questions, Chair.
Thank you, Helen, for that. That's a very clear and concise report. Thank you. Could I just, before I only talk for the debate, could I invite a proposer for the report, please? Councillor Brown, proposers, and Councillor Sharp seconds the report. Thank you very much. On the basis of that, can I open the floor up to a debate or questions regarding the report, please? Over to you. A stunned silence. Must be the first time I've ever sat in there with a stunned silence. But and I'm stunned now. So that's fine. So I've nothing to add to that, and I'm assuming that if we've nothing to add to it, you're content to move on to say that that it is the recommendation is to note the report, I believe, and therefore you're content that the report is noted and recorded as such. Happy? Thank you. Just on that point, Helen, have you? I'm assuming you've got no other input into the meeting. There may.
No other input from me, Chair, but I will stay and listen to the rest of the meeting if that's okay with you.
You're very brave. Thank you.
Thank you.
To move on then to item 5, which is the external audit review of the housing subsidy benefit 2023-2024. I believe it's Dawn to present the report. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. The housing benefit subsidy audit is commissioned outside of the core audit, external audit work, and we have a separate contract for this with assets, which is why I'm presenting the report this evening. This has been subject to similar delays due to audit availability, similar to the core external audit work, and so we're still playing catch up, hence why you've got the report covering the 23-24 financial year. We're just finalising the contract for 24-25, and then we need to also procure the 25-26 audit work. The audit undertaken is required to check the accuracy of the housing subsidy claim, and that's the claim that's submitted to the DWP. Sample testing has to be carried out and can be extended if errors are found as part of that year's claim or prior years. Obviously, the aim is to avoid this as much as possible because that increases both the level of in-house resources that have to be employed on that testing, but also it increases the cost of the external audit work as well, as they have to sample test that work. And with the level of the caseload and the number of new claims that we see, and particularly the change of circumstances processed per annum, it is inevitable that errors will be found. But I am pleased to see that they are quite low and also of quite low value. And the aim is for these to be as low as possible. You'll see from the audit report that the findings are positive, and we've got another area of testing that's now being considered closed, which will reduce testing in the next financial year. And also, as I said, the areas that were identified were very low value. That said, we will still continue to work on assurance during the year to continue to improve the accuracy moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn, on that one. You've heard the introduction. Could I have a proposer, please? Ian Atherton, Councillor Atherton. Proposers and Councillor Webster, seconds. Thank you very much. Before having the debate, just like to say that I read the report and I found it very, very heartening, very good, very accurate. And I have to say, the amount of errors in there are minuscule compared to the amount of work that has gone into that, and I'm very pleased overall with that report. But on that basis, would anyone like to say? Councillor Atherton?
Yeah, sorry, Dawn, the report mentions cake testing in a couple of places. I know what that means to me, but from a financial audit perspective, can you just explain what cake testing is, please?
Sorry, I'm trying to remember what the acronym is, but basically it's additional case testing where they found an error. They have to do an additional 40 plus is the other term for it. So I'm off the top of my head, I can't remember what the acronym is, but I think Rachel probably knows.
I do believe it's cumulative audit knowledge and experience. I think I'm not sure on the E, but it's what it's built up over time. Could be. Yes.
I think Helen's going to enlighten us.
No, you had it spot on. Cumulative audit knowledge and experience. Well done.
Another learning point. Sorry, yeah.
Apologies, Chair. I'm not for any moment doubting either internal or external auditors. It's just that in the report we refer to it differently as a cumulative assurance knowledge and experience testing. So we'll have to amend that for future versions.
Would you like that changed in the minutes of the meeting? I don't think it's necessary, but I'll leave it to you. You might want to propose that. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Chair. I'm a bit disappointed at that explanation because when I read the report, I was wondering how I could get a job in audit if it involved cake, but there you go. Not a question, it's just an observation on 2 points. I mean, you've already referred to it, Chair, but I think understanding how complex this whole area is, and you know, from residents' casework from time to time, you know, I'm really impressed at the low level of errors, because as you rightly say, errors will occur, and I think it shows just how effective and hard working our staff are to actually manage this complex area with so little in the way of errors. And the other observation is, and I know to the point about there's a cost to auditing. My observation is that, you know, and people often don't understand, there is a cost to running a public service that is open and transparent and subject to checks. So I think it's right that we do it, but I'm encouraged to think that we may need to spend less on it in the future.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Is there anyone else would like to coming on the debate before I asked whether you're content that just to note that I report that the report is noted by the committee. Is that okay? Thank you. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is item 6. It's the internal audit progress report. This always provokes some sort of debate, I'm pleased to say. And I'd just like to hand over to Rachel, who will present the report, a brief introduction, and we'll move through it. Thank you very much, Rachel.
Thank you, Chair. So this is our latest update on delivery of the 25-26 internal audit plan. So it's in the format the committee will be familiar with, but I'll just take you through the key sections as usual. So we have finalised one further audit report since the last update to the committee, the outcome of which is included in the table in Appendix 1, page 54 of your papers this evening. So all of the other assignments are either now underway or complete, and all of those that have not been finalised at the time of this report will be included in your annual internal audit report for the year, which is due to come to the July committee meeting. So there is a brief overview of that one finalised audit report for you on page 53 of your papers today, which related to changes in the waste legislation and the Council's project delivery and risk management in relation to this. So we were really satisfied with the project management arrangements that were in place that had complied with the expected controls. So a policy was in place in relation to household waste and recycling collection, which had been formally reviewed and approved in November 2025. We could also see that formal terms of reference had been established for the board that would be overseeing this from a programme perspective, and a project charter had been put into place to be clear around the governance arrangements. From a risk management perspective, risks have been actively managed through a risk assumptions, issues and dependencies log, which has been reviewed on a monthly basis and just clearly impacted on decision making as well. And we could see that the council's software was being used to manage this as a corporate project, giving us some assurance around how this is being managed and documented. We can also see evidence of stakeholder engagement and communications plans. So overall, we have given a good level of assurance for the project management and governance for both the control environment and compliance. Clearly, the council is not in a position to actually implement the changes to the waste collections in line with the requirement of 2026. This has been communicated to DEFRA and is recognised within the report of the new planned go live date. So the council does need to revisit a lot of the project planning to make sure it aligns with that new date that we're working to. And that may require some changes on some of the procurement activity, as that's now not going ahead as initially expected. Some of that may need to be delayed at this point as well. So the main recommendation from the audit was around realigning those project milestones and the project planning in relation to the new go live date. Given that the deadline will not be met, we have given a medium organisational impact, which doesn't reflect on any weaknesses within the actual project management arrangements. It's more around the decision that has been made from a financial sustainability perspective, but we have recognised that as a corporate risk as well. So also within the report this evening is an update on the implementation of audit actions. So on page 58 of the papers in Appendix 2 is an overview of the actions. So we've had one action implemented since the last committee meeting. We still have 20 which are overdue, which is the same number that were overdue at the last committee progress update. Some more of those have now moved into the over 3 months overdue category. There is only one that falls into the category of high priority and over 3 months overdue, which is provided in the appendix, which is in exempt session. And we have been provided with regular updates on all of the overdue actions. So we do continue to monitor them and do take this to senior leadership team on a regular basis. So I hope to have an updated position which will be reflected in your annual internal audit report for the year, which will be a snapshot as at the end of March. So finally, in Appendix 3 is the latest customer satisfaction feedback, which I'm really pleased to say has been very positive to date, and we'll obviously continue to collect that, and that will also be reflected in your annual report once we've received all of those back as well. So I'm happy to take questions, Chair, on any of the content within the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel, for a clear and concise report. Could I have a proposer, please, for the report before we open the debate? Councillor Brown proposes. Councillor Atherton seconds. Thank you very much for that. Before opening the debate, I'd just like to say that one of the pages that always creates interest is page 58, which is the outstanding audit recommendations. I sense that over time, that since I've been a member of this committee, that we've moved to a better place over time from when I first started. In fact, sad that I am, I've been back and checked some of the papers, so I do know we've moved from a better place. Would you agree with that comment, Rachel?
Yes, Chair. Yeah, I think we are continuing to improve. I think there may be some actions that hopefully are close to completion. I think the one high priority I'm hoping will be concluded fairly soon. So it'll be nice that we will, if that was to be the case, we will have no high priority actions overdue, which is a nice position to be in. We do obviously need to continue to focus on those medium priority actions next. But as I say, we'll continue to raise this with senior leadership team as well and make sure we have the pressure from that perspective.
Thank you very much for that, Rachel. Can I open it up for debate now? Questions, please? Councillor Brown.
Sorry, not page 58, I'm afraid, page 54. Now, I was just curious, I noticed on the budget against actual, there was a significant increase in the time input on antisocial behaviour. Now, I don't know what, now, I imagine this could be to do with the fact with the heightened level of activity in that area in the last 6 to 12 months. But I just wondered if you could clarify why that's the case.
Through you, Chair. Yeah. Okay, so yes, just to confirm, so I think we were perhaps a little bit ambitious in thinking we could deliver this audit in 12 days on the basis that we essentially have two quite key areas, not just so we obviously have the community safety aspect, but also from a tenancy perspective as well. So we've done quite a lot of work, both with the housing management team and with the community safety team, which almost performed 2 audits really in entirety. So it has been a greater draw on resource than initially anticipated, but it's quite a lengthy report, but I think it will add value once completed.
In terms of that, Councillor Brown? Thank you, Rachel. Anyone else that would like to enter into the debate and ask questions? Thank you. This is I believe that you have proposed an. Okay, thank you. Just to remind me, this is to note, and are you content that we record this as noted? Committee, are happy with that? Thank you, as noted. Thank you very much. Moving on to the internal audit plan. Once again, it's Rachel. This is a well-trodden path, and I'd just like you to introduce it, please. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Chair. So I previously brought a report to the committee on the process that we would be following to develop your internal audit plan for 26-27. So I then went away and have been through that process to make sure we have a risk-based internal audit plan, which essentially then forms our schedule of work for the next 12 months. So before you this evening, from page 70 of the pack in table 1 is the draft internal audit plan for 26-27. For each of the assignments, I've set out the assurances that we will be looking for as part of the audit, the estimated number of audit days required, and I've also cross-referenced to both your corporate plan themes and your risk register entries. We have also given an initial timing, so you'll know when to expect the outcomes of those reviews. We have also included at the bottom of this table on page 71 some time. We have 12 days in for LGR support and assurance on review of the corporate strategy. This is advisory support, which we can define a little bit further during the year as to how we best use those days. But I think it's probably helpful to have some allowance within the plan to support that work. We also have on page 72 of the pack, page 4 of the appendix, the reserve list as table 2. So these are areas that came up as part of that planning process that didn't quite make the cut onto the audit plan, either because they were slightly lower risk in terms of their assessment, or we have other sources of assurance, or we just have other things that we've prioritised over them. If anything changes during the year in terms of risk profile, we can revisit that reserve list. That's why I wanted to make sure we shared that with you so you can see the complete list of areas that we had considered. So the audit plan is based on the standard number of days that we have delivered in previous years and in the current year. And as I say, I don't plan to go through it line by line, but I'm more than happy to take questions from members on any of the particular areas that we've included, or the reason for them, or the assurance that we're looking for. Also to mention in Appendix B is the Internal Audit Charter and Mandate. I've brought these two items together as one document because essentially the plan sets out what we will deliver and the Internal Audit Charter and Mandate sets out how we will deliver it. The Charter and Mandate is a document that comes to this Audit and Standards Committee on an annual basis. It is in line with the Global Internal Audit Standards, and when we last reviewed it fully in 2025, it was reviewed and approved by this committee this time last year. And I haven't proposed any amendments to the document for this year, so it is the same document that was approved this time last year. It was fit for purpose and it meets the requirements of the standards, so I've not proposed any changes. So both the plan and the charter are brought to the committee this evening for formal review and approval, and I'm happy to take any questions on either of the documents. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Before we open up to debate, I would remind the committee that this is to be voted on. It's not to note, so just to put that forward. Is there a proposer for this report? Councillor Atherton. Seconder, please. Councillor Sharp. Thank you. On that basis, then, can I offer it up to the committee to discuss it, debate it, as they think fit? Councillor Atherton.
Thank you, Chair. In Table 1 on page 70, Theme 1 includes safeguarding checks for in relation to taxi licensing. I do notice, as do many people, that a lot of the taxis that operate in and around the borough are actually licensed in Wolverhampton. Do we have any ability to audit their safeguarding checks or to get assurance from Wolverhampton that their standards are as rigorous as our own?
That's a very good question. Thank you. Rachel?
Yeah, Chair. As far as I'm aware, the only licensing we'd be able to look at is licenses issued by Melton Borough Council. Obviously, those are the only records that we'd have available to audit. I'm happy to take away the query in terms of whether, as an organisation, we get any assurances, but clearly it would be difficult for us to ever know which vehicles were in the area to be able to seek those assurances. Just to emphasise on the taxi licence, we would be looking both at Hackney carriage and private hire licences, but obviously only the licences that are issued by Melton Borough Council for the purposes of this audit.
No, that's fine. If we can get some assurance from Wolverhampton that they're as rigorous as we are, then that would suffice, I think.
And just ask Clive to comment on that, please.
Chair, I mean, I agree completely with what Councillor can seek assurance, but sadly the way that the licensing regime works is that once issued and as provided the booking is made in the correct way, a private hire or carriage vehicle can go to any place in the country. So sadly there's nothing we can do just because they're coming to our areas, but you know, there may be some willingness to engage with us. Most authorities will be following now the standard process because there is actually very clear guidance on what should be done. I know that doesn't mean that it's infallible, and of course there can be risks, but as I say, it is now a very much a regulated process. So provided they give us that assurance, it would be very difficult to look further than what they say at face value.
Councillor Brown.
It's almost a national. Something comes to light. I don't think I was on before, was I? Something comes to light that actually relates to a driver of a vehicle licensed elsewhere. Is there a recognised process we go through in terms of working with the licensing authority?
Is there any advice on that, Clive?
Yeah, only the authority that issues the licence can take action to suspend or revoke them, but we would, if we got that information ourselves, I'm aware that the licensing team will contact the issuing authority and provide whatever support and assistance they can, and if appropriate, also report the matter to the police depending on the nature of the allegation. So again, it might be something that further assurance can be sought from licensing or via licensing committee. But I do know just from a practical perspective with work I've done with them that that's the way that they work.
Thank you, Clive. Are you content with that answer? With obviously recorded in the minutes. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak or ask questions on this item? In that case, then I'll move to the vote. But before that, I'll just record the recommendation, just so we're absolutely clear and anyone watching is clear. That the committee review and approve the internal audit plan for 2026-2027 in Appendix A. 2, review and approve the internal audit charter and mandate in Appendix B. 3, approves delegated authority for the Director of Corporate Services in consultation with the Chair of the Audit and Standards Committee to agree significant amendments to the plan during the financial year if required. Obviously, that will be reported back to the committee at some stage should that happen, I feel. So if I could ask a show of hands to approve the report, I'd be much obliged. Thank you. That's unanimous. Thank you very much for that. Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 8, the risk management update report. This is for Dawn to comment on and introduce. If you could, that Dawn, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Updates on risk management are provided twice a year to this committee and to Cabinet. The strategic risk register is attached at Appendix 1, and that includes mitigating actions for each risk on the register. The changes made to the strategic risk register since the last 6 monthly report are all set out in the table in paragraph 5.3, so I won't go through those. Since the last update, the risk management policy has been refreshed in response to an internal audit review, and the changes made are all set out in paragraph 5.13. And the updated policy and framework are attached at Appendix 2 and 3 for noting and approval as appropriate. Through our insurance contract, we have £5,000 to spend per annum on risk management support, and you'll see in paragraph 5.15 the various elements of training that's been undertaken throughout the year in order to utilise this fund, and we're just starting discussions on the use of the 26-27 budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. Before I proceed to open it up, is there a proposer for this report, please? Councillor Atherton, seconder, Councillor Brown, thank you. Could I open the debate up for questions, comment? Thank you very much. Twice in one night, and who said lightning didn't strike twice? Stunned silence, thank you. This has got an element of voting on it, so I'll just read out the recommendations of the committee. That 1, it notes the contents of the report and the updated strategic risk register and associated risk management action plan as attached at Appendix 1. 2, approves the revised risk management policy as attached at Appendix 2. 3, notes the revised performance and risk management framework as attached at Appendix 3, which is approved by the Cabinet on 11th of March 2026. Councillor Atherton?
Before we do vote, and my apologies for not raising it earlier, if we look at Appendix 1 on page 95, risk SG9, scored 8 is amber. If you go then scroll down to the table below on the following page, SG9 is shown as red. So just a slight typo there, I think.
Can you answer that, or would you like to notice it?
We can take that back and make sure it's corrected accordingly.
And then we'll bring it back to the next stands committee, audit stands committee, just for an update on it. Okay, are you content with that? Thank you, Councillor. Read out the recommendations. I intend to take them all in one go. Has anybody got any objections to that? Okay, take them all in one go. Can I show of hands, please, to approve? Thank you. And people are content to note. Same time. Thank you very much for that. That was unanimous. Item 9, we have our chairman has already been through, so we are content with that. However, the committee doesn't get away with that so easily. I have one item of business, which is, although may not be urgent to you, it's urgent to me. So if I could just beg your patience for 5 minutes. It's that time of year again when we need to complete our self-assessment of our performance over the year, and to note anything that's in the self-assessment. In previous years, I have put up an Aunt Sally for people to knock over and look at. I'm more than happy to do that again, so that we can truncate the process, because last year we're pretty well set. I think we did a sterling job. So if the committee here are content for me to put it up and to circulate around the members of the committee for comment, I'm more than happy to do so, but I will leave it to you to decide if you want me to do that. Councillor Atherton?
So personally, I've got no objection to what you proposed, and indeed last year it worked very well.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'm taking everyone as content. Thank you. Then I will do that. Does that accord with our audit principles? Thank you, Rachel. Then on that basis, there's no other urgent business from the chair, and the meeting will close at 17 minutes past 7, according to my watch. And thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you very much for your input, and that includes everyone in the room. Thank you.